1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. August is National Immunization Awareness Month. It is observed to remind people of all ages to get updated on their vaccinations. According to the CDC, thousands of Americans get sick from vaccine-preventable illnesses each year.
Shall we get started?
Yes. Hi, Jessica June.
Hi, Ingrid May.
Do we have anything we need to say about last week's episode?
Sorry for all the technical switch ups. Like something was going crazy with our recordings, and when we edited, it was so if you caught one of the weird sessions that ended in a loop, sorry, or parts that were cut out in the beginning. I don't know what happened. It was really weird. So that's all. Oh, and then we did, just so you guys all know, that was like a 3-hour recording session that we cut down to about an hour. So you're welcome.
Right. And I mean, it was pretty easy to chunk off the end because there was quite a bit of beverage drinking by that time and not a lot of sense making. Yeah, it was super messy. I think I had to take it down and re-upload it like 5 times. So yeah. If you're somebody that it automatically downloads right away, you may want to go undownload it because it won't if it's already downloaded to your device, it won't, the corrected version won't take its place. You have to undownload it and then re-download it.
That's good to know.
If you even care that much. So
yeah,
I mean,
there are some funny stories.
It was messy. One thing I wanted to say is, I mean, this is a really anal correction, is I said Robbie is on this episode, but obviously he wasn't on that episode. He's been on the podcast.
I actually have a different answer for what people are surprised about me.
Oh,
I don't think Mother appreciated my response to that. I would actually say people are generally surprised about how old I am because I don't look it.
So in a way, you're saying I look so good. Nobody knows.
I look so young. No, that is that. And I'm sure it goes for you too. Like people are just genuinely surprised that I am the age I am.
Oh, you mean people come to me and they're like, wow, your sister is a lot younger than
No, I think people think you're. Oh, and actually I did want to add one more thing. So Ingrid was being super nice to me in that episode. And I had a very sweet and super nice answer about her, but she cut it out. So
because it was incomprehensible.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all. So I just want to know she's not the only nice one.
But people would be surprised to hear that I'm nice.
And that I have a brain.
Also, one more thing I wanted to say is explain, I guess. Kara said, what did she say? I'm not that vanilla with those eyebrows. What did she say? You're not that vanilla with those eyebrows. Or you're not that basic with it. Yeah.
Something like
anyway, I got microblading done, and I feel quite fabulous. And I think Kara was throwing some shade on my brows.
that. I think she was actually complimenting them.
No, she was, but she was.
Tell me what you got to tell me, because my children need to go to bed.
Okay. Well, so this is kind of tricky. I talked about immunizations, but I'm not going to directly talk about immunizations.
Trigger warning.
No, it's not.
We'll
I
see.
guess trigger warning, I'm fooling you. Okay. It will all make sense at the end. Okay. I think I need to get my dogs a podcast so they can stop interrupting ours. Okay. All right. So Loretta Pleasant was born in Roanoke, Virginia on August 1st, 1920. At some point in her life, she became known as Henrietta. She lived with her 8 older siblings, mother Eliza Lacks Pleasant and her father Johnny Pleasant. Her mom died in childbirth with her 10th child. Johnny couldn't handle all of the kids, so he moved back to be closer to his family in Clover, Virginia. The children were divided up to live with various relatives, as no one could take all of them. So 4-year-old Henrietta ended up living with her grandfather, Tommy Lacks, along with his other grandchild, 9-year-old David, or he went by Day Lacks. Do you know what this story is yet?
No, I have no clue.
Ooh,
I have no idea.
Exciting. Oh, I'll do my sources at the end. Okay. Day stopped going to school after 4th grade so he could work in the fields, and it was the tobacco fields. Henrietta went until she was in 6th grade. The two of them would wake up every morning at 4 o'clock to milk the cows and feed the other farm animals, and then they took care of the garden. If they weren't going to school, they worked in the tobacco fields. Otherwise, it was about a 2-mile walk past the white school to get to the colored school when school was in session. Henrietta gave birth to her first son, Lawrence, when she was 14.
Oh my goodness, so young.
Yes. Day, who was then 19, was the father.
They were cousins?
They were cousins.
Okay.
And this was a common occurrence among the Lacks family.
Oh, okay.
Lucille Elsie was born 4 years later. Elsie was known in Lackstown as Touched or Simple. So it used to be referred to as the Lacks Plantation, but I think that since so many family members lived there, that it started to get referred to as Lackstown. And
I'm sorry, what year was this again?
1920. No.
Okay.
Yeah, 1920, 1930.
Okay.
And the house that Henrietta grew up in with her grandfather and her cousin was they referred to it as home house. And it was I think it was the old slave quarters. One of their ancestors, I don't know how far back, was a slave owner. So they're interracial.
Okay.
I don't know that really matters, but it does mention it. Okay, so Elsie was known as Touched or Simple. She was described as a beautiful girl, but she never spoke. She would make grunting or chirping or bird-like sounds. On April 10th, 1941, 20-year-old Henrietta married 25-year-old Day. The family moved from Clover to Baltimore so Day could pursue another job making some more money. And the couple ended up having 3 more children. David Jr., who eventually went by Sonny, Deborah, who eventually went by Dale, and Joe, who changed his name to Zechariah. When Henrietta was pregnant with Joe, Elsie started becoming more difficult to handle. She would often fall down, run into walls. And while she had 2 small children at home and another baby on the way, the doctors recommended sending Elsie away.
Oh.
This is sad. The little girl that Henrietta used to cradle, whose hair she would meticulously braid, who she would dress in homemade clothes and bows, was taken to Crownsville State Hospital, which was previously known as the Hospital for the Negro Insane. She was diagnosed with idiocy.
How's that even a diagnosis, by the way?
Well, it was like 1930.
I know.
So Henrietta would visit often, and Elsie would cling to her and cry as they played with each other's hair. Her family said that a piece of Henrietta died the day Elsie was dropped off.
Oh.
Henrietta had told her girlfriends, which happened to be her cousins, one evening about a knot that she set on her womb. She told them that sex was painful, and they suggested, well, maybe you're pregnant, because they pushed on her stomach and they couldn't feel anything. And about a week later, Henrietta found out she was pregnant with her fifth child, Joe. Her friends said that confirmed the pain was from the pregnancy. Henrietta didn't agree because she said the pain had been there prior to her becoming pregnant. When that baby was 4 months old, Henrietta had vaginal bleeding even though her period was not due. She climbed into a bath and performed a self-vaginal exam. And she felt something on her cervix. Her doctor, so she went to the doctor. Yeah.
That's really impressive. I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, I wouldn't even know how to, you know?
Well, I suppose she felt like there was something in there and just kind of started reaching around and was like, that's not right.
But I'm saying I wouldn't know if something wasn't supposed to be there.
Oh, okay. So she went to the doctor, and he initially thought it was a syphilis sore because they often fooled around with other women. And it wouldn't have been the first time that she had syphilis.
Oh my gosh.
Right. But the test came back negative for syphilis. And since that happened, he sent her to Johns Hopkins. So Johns Hopkins was 20 miles away, but it was the only hospital in the area that treated Black people, because this is in the 1950s, because Henrietta is now 29 years. She was born in 1930, and she's now like about 29 years old. 29, 30 years old.
So it's almost the 60s. Almost.
Well, no, 1950. She wasn't born in 1930. She was born in 1920.
Oh, okay.
Let me just go scoot you back a little bit. God. Okay. On January 29th, 1951, Dr. Howard Jones examined her at Johns Hopkins and found a nickel-sized lump in the 4 o'clock position. It was shiny and purple, and he later described it like that it looks like grape jello. Oh. And yeah. And gross. It bled. I know, sorry for eating jello. Here we go again. I should have warned you. And he noticed that it bled at the slightest touch. He took a small sample to send to the lab, and he let Henrietta go home. He noted that she had this was interesting. He noted that she had delivered a full-term baby at Johns Hopkins on September 19th, 1950. And then she had a follow-up exam 6 weeks later. And there was no mention of the lesion at either of those occurrences. Okay, so now I want to talk about a few of the people on staff at Johns Hopkins. So Dr. Howard Jones is the guy who performed the exam. Mm-hmm. So he, along with his mentor, Dr. Richard Wesley Talind, were on the gynecological services. Talind was a surgeon who, along with Jones, was researching cervical cancer. At the time, cervical carcinoma in situ was felt to be benign, and there was no need to treat. Right. Invasive.
Because it's women.
Well, don't worry. This gets controversial enough. We don't have to throw this up in there.
Sorry.
Invasive cervical cancer was appropriately treated aggressively. Talind, who is a renowned gynecological surgeon, he introduced using estrogen to teach menopause. He also authored a textbook on gynecology, which is still used today.
Wow.
So he believed carcinoma in situ was an early stage of cancer and would eventually develop into invasive carcinoma. He would always treat his patients aggressively, even when presenting with carcinoma in situ.
Huh. Thanks.
Right. But he wasn't completely like cutting hat. Like he wasn't thinking everybody needs to get cut up. He recommended that all physicians double check pap smears results with an actual biopsy before jumping to a hysterectomy. And so Talind had actually just recently given a talk on this at a conference, and he was kind of laughed off the stage.
By his peers?
By his peers. Like, what? You're crazy. Get out of here with your foolishness.
He was super right, though.
Yeah. Well, and he was convinced he was right. So he and Jones, I lost my spot. There we go. He and Jones decided to review some Johns Hopkins cases of invasive carcinoma to see if any of those patients had previously presented with carcinoma in situ. Now, it was common during those times for research to be conducted on patients in the public wards without their knowledge. And it was felt that it could kind of be brushed off as some form of payment because they weren't paying for their services. So this is kind of, in lieu of payment, we're just going to go ahead and do some research on you.
And not get your consent. We're going to use you as a guinea pig.
Right.
Okay.
And let's see. So, and then remember that Johns Hopkins was one of the only hospitals in the area who treated Black patients. So most of the research was therefore done on Black individuals. However, I mean, granted that you have to go about doing research in a correct format, but, they weren't actually doing any testing in this specific trial. They were just reviewing previous medical records.
Okay.
So, in one of the study, Jones and Talind found that 62% of the invasive carcinoma patients did initially have carcinoma in situ. And so the next step that Talind wanted to accomplish is he wanted to grow the cultures of the two different kinds of carcinomas along with normal tissue so that he could compare how each of them grew. And then he would prove that the two carcinomas were actually quite similar in their replication and growing process. And he felt that would then prove his theory. There's a lot of hand gesture talking going on, just since you guys can't actually see me.
I don't know if it necessarily adds to the story, though.
It does. I don't know that you guys can actually hear the words appropriately without all these hand gestures. Okay, so because he wanted to do this, he enlisted the head of tissue culture at Johns Hopkins, George Guy. And George, along with his wife, Margaret Guy, who's a former, I think, surgically trained nurse, had been trying for decades to grow malignant cancer cells outside of the body because they wanted to identify the cause of cancer and hopefully find a cure for cancer. And unfortunately, the cells died. They always died. The guys wanted to identify the first human cell line. So a cell line is where you can take the culture of a cell and you put it in, or you take a cell and you put it in a culture medium, and then it replicates and it continues to replicate and just continues to its line. Why are you laughing at me?
At the hand gestures.
Right. Our listeners totally are not going to understand what I just said. We'll have to we'll put some still photos of my hand gestures up on.
You missed a circle and then her spinning her hands in circles.
Lots of spinning. So much spinning. Okay. So a cell line involving mice was actually identified 8 years earlier. And so everybody was trying to do this with humans. Can
I interject? I think it's fascinating that cancer research started way back then, and they've been trying to find a cure for it since 1950, at least.
Right.
Probably earlier
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. And they were trying to get the cell. This was like decades, 20 or 30 years that they have been trying to
Wow.
get a cell line.
Hmm.
So each of these people have their own motives and their own agendas, but they all kind of crossed over. So an agreement was made that Talind would provide the guys with cervical cells from any woman who presented to Johns Hopkins with cervical cancer.
Okay.
So on February 5th, 1951, which was just a few days after her biopsy sample was collected and sent, Dr. Jones called called Henrietta, and he told her it was malignant. Not wanting to upset anyone, Henrietta simply told Day that she needed to go back for more tests and to get some medicine. The next day, after reassuring her family that she would be fine, she presented to Johns Hopkins and she signed her surgical consent, which stated, "I hereby give consent to the staff of the Johns Hopkins Hospital to perform any operative procedures and under any anesthetic, either local or general, that they may deem necessary, and the proper surgical care and treatment of blank." So she filled in her name, signed it, and an illegible signature, witnessed hers.
Okay. It didn't specify what kind of surgery?
Nope. That's it. That's the consent. The first day she underwent a lot of testing, blood draws, x-rays, lung tests, all sorts of tests. And then the following day after that, she was anesthetized for her treatment. So cervical cancer was treated with small tubes filled with radium. Dr. Lawrence Wharton Jr. dilated Henrietta's cervix. He inserted one tube into her cervix and stitched it into place. He then took two more tubes and placed it on the surface of her cervix. Prior to any of this, though, Wharton took 2 dime-sized slices from Henrietta's cervix, one from the healthy portion and one from the cancerous lesion. Following the surgery, he charted how the patient tolerated the procedure well and left the operating room in good condition. On a separate piece of paper, he wrote Henrietta's name along with cervical cancer tissue given to George Guy. The tissue sent to Guy's lab was cut up by Mary Kubitschek and placed into culture medium and labeled with the first 2 letters of her first name and the first 2 letters of her last name. So capital H, lowercase e, capital L, lowercase a. I don't know if you did much microbiology in school, but have you ever heard of HeLa cells?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. HeLa cells are pretty popular in the micro world and the medical world and the research world, and you'll find out more. Everybody in the lab is kind of sick of doing this. This research has been going on for decades, and the cells always died. So Mary was really annoyed. She was one of the lead people who actually would do this because she had pristine sterilization procedures, and she just had like good dexterity and everything. So anyway.
And she was the surgical nurse, right?
No. Mary is like one of the techs in the lab. Margaret.
Margaret. Okay.
George's wife.
Okay.
She was a former surgical nurse. So she's the one who kind of implemented all the surgical technique that was done in their lab.
Okay.
So Mary cut the pieces into little millimeter-sized samples and put them into the culture medium. And she, again, I said that already. So at first there was no growth. Then about 4 years, then about 4 days after incubating the cultures, there was some growth. But Mary still wasn't that excited because sometimes the cells would grow, but then again, they would eventually die. 24 hours later, however, the cells had doubled. So she split them up, divided them up some more. And then 24 hours later, all of them had doubled again. And so she continued to do this, and everything continued to double every 24 hours. And meanwhile, Henrietta's normal cells quickly died after they were cultured, like just within a couple days. So now back to Henrietta. She remained in the hospital for 2 more days. A doctor removed the radium tubes just before she left on the day of discharge, and they told her to return in 2.5 weeks for her second dose. No one knew about Henrietta being sick. She didn't show any of the typical radium side effects. She carried on with life, cooking for anyone and everyone that came to the house. So it used to be where she would cook for family and she would cook for cousins, but then people just started showing up and saying they were her cousin. And apparently she was just very well known to be a fabulous cook. She visited Elsie. She would take the other kids back to Clover on the weekends, and she would go work in the fields. She continued to sneak out with her cousin Sadie. When Day would go to work at night, the girls would go out dancing. Henrietta with her hair pinned up, flawless red polish on her toes and her fingernails. She wore open-toed shoes and a dress. Sadie described how the two would jiggle, shake, and turn. And she said Henny, she called her Henny, made life come alive. The doctors were really hopeful at her second treatment. Her cervix was a little bit red, but the tumor had vanished. In fact, the medical team couldn't find any of the tumors anywhere.
Wow.
But what they wanted to do is they wanted to do some x-ray treatments just to make sure that there were no cancerous cells anywhere else in her body. And that would go, it would be every single day during the week treatment. And Day had to work. Did you have a question?
I did. Wasn't she pregnant with Joe?
No. This happened. She noticed the bleeding 4 months after Joe was born.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Gotcha.
So Day had to work during the day. And again, it's a 20-mile drive. So she had a cousin, Margaret, who lived close to the hospital. So she said, okay, well, after my treatments, I can go walk over to Margaret's house and stay there until Day can come pick me up. Sometimes it was like at midnight. He'd pick her up and bring her home. But that meant she had to tell Margaret. So she told her 2 cousins, Margaret and Sadie, that she was diagnosed with cancer, but she said it's no big deal. They've got it all under control. And so she began radiation on March 20th. 2 weeks prior to that, she began to have heavy vaginal bleeding again. At one time, as the radiation treatments continued to go on, she eventually got weaker and struggled a little bit more. So there was one afternoon she lay down on the couch at Margaret's house, and she's just like, oh my gosh, this is, they're burning me. And she pulled up her shirt and showed Sadie and Margaret, and her skin was black from underneath her breasts down to her pelvis.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. At one point, she asked the doctors when she could start having children again.
Oh, sweet girl.
None of them had told her that this was going to cause her to be infertile. And it's actually documented that said, she said, if I knew that was going to leave me infertile, I wouldn't have done it.
Wow. Even if it would have killed her?
Yeah. She just loved kids.
Oh.
3 weeks after starting her treatments, Henrietta was diagnosed with gonorrhea.
Oh my gosh.
On April 10th, 1951, George Guy went on television and he announced that he found what could be the way to cure cancer. He described cell life, growth, reproduction, and he described the cells that he was in possession of. And he willingly sent the cells to anyone who asked for them all over the world. Okay, that's just a little sidebar. Henrietta presented to Johns Hopkins in June, and this is still 1951, saying that she could feel the cancer moving through her body, and she had what was charted as vague abdominal pain. The doctor said she was fine and told her to come back in a month. She came back in a week and said that the discomfort is now more of an ache on both sides. She was told, "You're fine, come back in a month." She came back 2.5 weeks later, and she could barely walk from the pain, and she was no longer urinating. So when she was at Johns Hopkins, a doctor put a catheter in, drained her bladder, and sent her home. She came back 3 days later. This time, somebody palpated her abdomen, and the doctor felt a stony mass. They did an x-ray, which confirmed that there was a mass attached to her uterus. Dr. Jones, the physician who initially diagnosed her, along with other doctors, looked at the x-ray, and they determined that the mass was inoperable. And so they sent her home and told her to go to bed. Over the next week, she would be heard crying in pain and asking for the Lord to help her. And so now everyone knows. Initially it was just Margaret and Sadie. So now everyone knows. And again, you just think about this is a woman that post-radiation was going and working in the tobacco fields, taking care of 4 kids at home and cooking for everybody. Just not
very
somebody
active.
Who complains. Yeah. So if she's crying out in pain, it's painful.
It's legit. Yeah.
So she went to Johns Hopkins the next week for x-rays. These x-rays revealed solid tumors on her, one solid tumor on her uterus, one on each kidney, and one on her urethra.
Oh my gosh.
The doctors planned for radiation in attempts to alleviate the pain. So Henrietta was taken by Day or other cousins every day for radiation. She could barely walk, but they would still get her there. The radiation dose was increased, and the plan still was purely palliative, but the family thought they were still trying to cure her cancer. On August 8th, Henrietta asked to stay at Johns Hopkins because the pain was too intense. She had another pelvic exam, and the sole intent was to collect more cells for George Guy. He wanted to see if this batch would grow like the first. And because of all the toxins, of all the treatment, the cells did not live like the first. In fact, they died immediately. While there, Henrietta's children were first allowed to visit, but she would become so emotionally distraught after they left, the nurses said they could no longer come. So Day would bring them, and they would sit outside under her window where she would watch them play until she could no longer make it over to the window.
Oh my gosh. This is so sad. You didn't tell me this was sad.
It is sad. She was given Demerol and morphine with no effect on her pain.
Crap.
Dromeran helped, but only briefly. They even tried injecting her spine with alcohol in attempts. Yeah, I know. Okay. Sounds awful. By September, Henrietta had tumors on her bladder, diaphragm, and lungs. She had to receive multiple blood transfusions. Eventually, they said...
spread fast.
Very fast. Eventually, they had to stop transfusing because it was depleting the blood supply. Her cousin Emmett heard that, and he rounded up a bunch of friends who all rushed all rushed to Henrietta's side to donate blood, because all of these people remembered this wonderful, lively, kind woman who would cook for everybody. And they had slept on her floor. They had eaten her food. And they said, Henrietta needs some help. We're there. So,
Jeez Louise.
When they were there, they collected 8 pints of blood from those guys.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't write this down, but this is another sad part. Emmett recalls one of his last memories with Henrietta. He had taken her to go visit Elsie at the hospital, and Elsie kind of came up, and Henrietta just hugged her and stared at her in her eyes. And Henrietta said, "She looks good, don't you think? She's clean. She's well groomed. She looks really good, don't you think?" And Emmett said it was almost like she had to know that she looked good, because it was almost like she knew it was going to be the last time that she saw her daughter. And Emmett said one thing that Henrietta did not know is that's the last time Elsie ever had a visitor again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, this part's hard too.
Ingrid.
Sorry.
You didn't warn me.
Trigger warning. Tears. Okay. On September 24th, 1951, doctors discontinued all treatment except for analgesics. At one point, Henrietta looked at her sister Gladys, which, okay, I didn't write this down, but this was kind of funny, so I'll throw it in here since you're crying. Thanks. So Henrietta had 9 siblings. Gladys is one of her sisters, and people used to joke that Gladys was too ugly and too mean to be Henrietta's sister. And that Gladys didn't really like Henrietta because Henrietta was too pretty. But anyway, Gladys was at her bedside. I don't know if she was nonstop at her bedside, but she was at her bedside quite a bit. And
sisters, of course she was.
So, okay, this part's hard.
Ingrid.
All right, sorry. So at one point, Henrietta looked at her sister Gladys and said, "I'm going to die." And as tears were coming down Henrietta's face, she told Gladys, "I need you to promise me that you're going to tell Day to take care of those children, especially Deborah." Deborah was just over 1 year old when Henrietta went into the hospital. And Henrietta was distraught that she wouldn't be able to paint her nails or dress her up or braid her hair.
Oh.
On 12:50 at 12.
Ingrid.
What? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so mad at you right now.
Okay, it's fine. Okay. At 12:15 a.m. on October 4th, 1951, at the age of 31, Henrietta died.
Oh my gosh, that's so young.
I know. Guy wanted to do an autopsy because he wanted to be able to collect samples from every organ.
Oh my gosh.
In order to study it. And so this is interesting. There were no rules in place that you could take tissue or samples from a living person. Mm-hmm. But there are very strict rules after they're deceased. So he could not do that without the permission of her husband. So the doctors asked Day if they could do an autopsy. And initially he said no. But then they presented it to him that they wanted to understand the cancer that she had in order to help his children one day. So he agreed to a partial autopsy because he wanted her to look presentable for a funeral. So Mary Kubitschek was sent to collect the tissue samples during the autopsy. And
Mary was the good tech, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So samples were taken from her bladder, bowel, uterus, kidney, vagina, ovary, appendix, liver, heart, and lungs.
Dang.
And then Henrietta was eventually buried in back of the home house in Clover, where all Lacks were pretty much buried. Mm-hmm. Okay. The end of 1951 saw the biggest polio outbreak, and the world was desperate for a vaccine. And what the plan was is they were going to vaccinate children, but then they needed to study those kids' cells. They wanted to take then a sample from the kids and study the virus on their cells. But it was difficult because everything kept dying. All the cells kept dying. So the HeLa cells eventually found their way to the Tuskegee Institute, where they began to mass produce the cells. And initially, the cells were only used to test the polio vaccine. But soon they discovered that they were desired everywhere. So they sold them then to anybody who wanted them. And it was, I think, $10 a vial plus like the cost of Air Express or whatever.
Did the family get any of that? Okay.
So eventually the excitement over HeLa cells overflowed from the scientific community into the lay community and the media. And people wanted a name for the woman who would forever change medicine. Mm-hmm. And under the guise of not wanting DNA results to be linked to the family and potentially giving up medical information then on the family, they said they didn't want to give the name of her. So at one point...
Do you really think that was the reason why?
No, the reason why is because the staff did not want the family to know that these were taken without consent. Even though that wasn't a thing yet. That was not a thing yet.
Yeah, but they knew it was wrong.
Right. So one newspaper put Henrietta Lacks down as a name, but then the researchers, and I think I can't say for sure, but I think it was Guy who gave false names and said Helen L., Helen Larson, and I think there was one other name that was given, but it was never presented as Henrietta Lacks. So that was like 1951, 52. In 1973, Babette Lacks, who was the wife of Lawrence, who was Henrietta's oldest son, was visiting with a friend and that friend's brother-in-law. And while making small talk, the brother-in-law asked Babette what her last name was. And she said, well, my married name is Lacks. And he's like, oh, that's crazy that your name is Lacks. Because they had discussed that she was like a patient aide and that he worked at the National Cancer Institute in Washington, D.C. So they both had like a little bit of medical knowledge. And he said, your last name is Lacks? That's crazy because I work with a cell line of somebody named Henrietta Lacks. Because again, the scientific community was aware of what her name is. And she started laughing and she's like, that's crazy because my mother-in-law's name was Henrietta Lacks, but I know it's not her cells because she's been dead for 20 years, over 20 years. And he looked at her and he goes, really? Did she die of cervical cancer? And Babette freaked out. She's like, what are you talking about? How did you get my mother-in-law's cells? Why do you have them? Wow. And he goes, I ordered them from a supplier like everybody else does. And she was like, wait a second. So, she told her husband, he tried calling, but he didn't really, it was kind of confusing because they're like, how are her cells? Is she still alive? Like it's kind of confusing. So he called and said, I need to ask some questions about a patient of yours and her cells. So they looked for like an actual patient in the hospital and like, we don't have anybody. And he's like, I don't know where else to go. So he kind of dropped it. But at about that time, there had been some contamination from the HeLa cells. So these things could grow anywhere and everywhere. And they found that some of the HeLa cells had kind of infiltrated some other cultures. So while they're doing research on, for instance, if they wanted, like, I want to test specific liver cells, and I'm running this test, and oh my gosh, this is something that can treat hepatitis. I'm so excited and whatever. But then they looked and like, wait a second, we're HeLa cells in there. That just negates my entire study that I just did. So then they're like, well, instead of having to restart all of these studies, is there a way that we can figure out if there are any HeLa cells in this sample, in this collection? And they said, you know what, we could do some genetic testing. she has 5 kids, right? So they contacted Day and said, hey, can you bring your kids up here? We need to draw some blood from them. They did know now that her cells were being used for things. But what they said is, we want to check to see if your kids are carrying the same cancer gene.
So they lied.
As Henrietta. Yes.
Okay. They lied.
They didn't, instead of, we want to test and actually I think there was like a whole genome study that they wanted to also conduct.
Wow. Back then, huh?
Yeah. So a little bit more shadiness, like there wasn't enough. So many companies, the production of HeLa is kind of like the first biopharmacological companies then that were kind of made in order for the production and sale of the cells. So a lot of those companies made a lot of money. And
off of someone else's cells.
Right. That didn't even know. And so there's no documentation that Johns Hopkins or Guy had received any financial gain from, I'm sure there was stuff on the side, but they were not producing and selling the cells. But they got recognition and, other things that probably led to some good financial padding.
I have a question.
Yes.
And you may be talking about this. Why did her cells do that? Do they know why her cells did and no one else?
I don't know. Well, okay. So this will be a good part. One of the references or one of the sources that I used for this was from the podcast called This Podcast Can Kill You.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know that one.
Yeah. And so they talk about this. They do a really great job discussing how cells are replicated. So, normally your cells will replicate. If there's a defect in the cell, it dies. It doesn't replicate. Ideally, that's what's supposed to happen. But as they replicate, there's a line on the cell that shortens each time. And then eventually it can't replicate anymore. Cancer can cause a stimulation of that part that shortens to not shorten, to just stay like that. So then that means those cells can replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate and not die, be immortal. But so I would suggest for anyone who wants to know more of the scientific biological stuff, definitely check out that episode. I just went to like Apple Podcasts and typed in a search for Henrietta Lacks. There are a few podcasts out there. That was, I think, the most thorough and the most informative. But they do definitely kind of dive into that a little bit more. They talk about cervical cell or cervical cancer. And that was really interesting. I would definitely suggest listening to that. Okay. Another source that I used was a book called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. And what's crazy is this book was published in 2010. And at the time of the publishing of this book, the HeLa cells were being sold for $256 a vial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the family getting anything now?
You know what? They did. Hold on. I started Googling it and then I got sidetracked. So this is from, I don't know how accurate this.
Initial Google searches without deep Googling.
Right. So this is from marylandmatters.org.
Maryland Matters.
I totally want to cut that out, but I won't.
Please don't.
God. Baltimore, Maryland. That would be very sensical for it to be Maryland.
So they just wanted the share of knowledge and research, I guess.
So,
but But still, like even if all
the little clickbait thing to click on this on the marylandmatters.org, it says that her family has not received any compensation for the use of her cells by biotech or pharmaceutical companies since they were harvested. So it sounds like as of now, no. A few things that have come about because of this is the implementation of the common rule. So it's a 1981 rule of ethics regarding biomedical and behavioral research using human subjects in the United States. And so it's kind of the rules that the institutional review boards use. So the institution, the IRB, is who, like, if you're going to do a research study, you have to submit it and get approval by the IRB. Yep. So the main elements of the common rule include requirements, and I think I just got this from like Wikipedia. Requirements for assuring compliance by research institutions, requirements for researchers obtaining, waiving, and documenting informed consent, requirements for the IRB membership function, operations, review of research, and record keeping. And it has additional protections for certain vulnerable research subjects. So for pregnant women, in vitro fertilization and fetuses, prisoners, and children, there's additional protections put in place.
Did that come from what was going on in Tuskegee too?
Yeah. So that, since you brought that up, that's actually a topic that we're going to cover in our next episode. Because I was like, oh my gosh, this popped up during, this whole situation. And there's, I mean, let's just keep the shadiness going.
Yeah. Let's, to those that don't know the shadiness.
Yes.
I know shadiness is Tuskegee, but I don't think I'm saying that correct.
I said Tuskegee. No.
Tuskegee. Tuskegee.
Yeah. Is that what I said? I think I said Tuskegee.
And I've been saying Tuskegee.
So just a couple of things, like Henrietta cells, they went into space because they wanted to understand what happens to human cells in zero gravity. They
pre-astronaut, they went into space?
I'm not sure. When did we go to?
We went to the moon in like 1967-ish.
So maybe. Oh, probably. You know what? It would make sense. I mean, why would you send a human?
Yeah. Okay.
The cells have been helped to develop and study chemotherapy, cloning, gene mapping, in vitro fertilization, vaccines.
Wow.
And that's why I kind of see, I'm being shady too. I threw it in as we're talking about immunizations, but I didn't really. They've been used to develop drugs for treating herpes, leukemia, the flu, hemophilia, Parkinson's, STDs, and COVID.
Was that, so do they think that her cervical cancer was linked to HPV?
No, that's something that I think this podcast will kill you kind of dabbles in. And I think they had mentioned that not all cervical cancer stems from HPV, but it's like 99 point something.
Oh, geez.
Does.
Okay. Well, and I mean, if with Day being his philandering self.
Okay, so bringing that up, all of the Lacks kids had some kind of deafness or hearing disability.
Really?
So, yes, all of them, and which can be caused from syphilis. Also, who knows? I mean, it's first cousin with first cousin. So there might be, and kind of the same thing, I think, with Elsie. I think her issue, it might have been like a neurosyphilis thing. She was deaf. She couldn't speak. So maybe she just had issues with communication.
Yeah.
And so the big source that I used for this was, like I said, the book, the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. That is so well written. And so, I mean, it's actually a page turner kind of book. It's really, really interesting. It's not just scientific and information giving. Okay, so if you want to learn more about what happened to the kids immediately after Henrietta died and actually where they are now, and some of the stories are kind of funny and how the author had, tried to get in touch with the family and the interactions that she had with so many people along the way. It's so well written. I highly recommend the book. I actually had read it years ago when I briefly was going back to get my doctorate. I was like, what was it? My bachelor's?
Get my doctorate.
Ooh. I was trying to think because I'm like, did I have to read this when I got my bachelor's or was it my master's? But then I was like, oh, it was.
Ooh. I got my master's and my bachelor's. Ooh. I was going for my doctorate. Ooh.
I got my high school diploma too. But no.
So when was it?
Well, it was published in 2010. So it had to be.
Oh, it must have been your doctorate then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I don't have yet, people. So, bleh.
We did have a fun road trip to Alabama for that doctorate, though.
Oh, it was. But I was pregnant and everything stunk and made me nauseous.
Oh, well, okay. Maybe I had a good time.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, if you want more information, grab that book. Again, it's called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. There's actually a movie on HBO that was made from that book. Oprah Winfrey plays Henrietta's daughter.
Babette or Deborah?
Deborah.
Oh.
And yeah, so I kind of watched it, but I was doing something else too, so I didn't really get to. I think it's pretty accurate. Like even the lines I think are maybe directly taken from the book. Like I don't even think they messed up some of the words that they said.
Huh.
The words that they strung together into a sentence.
I put one word in front of the other.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I never
did this.
knew that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for immunizations is because immunizations were able to be fully tested and developed and tried because of these cells. Oh, actually, one more thing.
Have they ever? Okay, sorry.
One more thing I wanted to say is these her cells helped them discover that there's actually 46 chromosomes as opposed to 48, which they originally thought. Her cells have reproduced a new generation every 24 hours and they've never stopped.
Wow.
And just for people who don't know, cells make up everything. They make up absolutely everything. They're tiny. Several thousand of them would make a period at the end of a sentence. That's how small they are. But these cells, then they make tissue, which then makes the organs and everything else.
Or they make wood or trees or like anything, right? Okay.
Yeah. So scientists, there was a scientist who said that if you took all of HeLa cells that were ever grown that were ever
grown in Maryland.
Yeah. Damn it. That if you took all of them ever grown, they would weigh more than 50 million metric tons.
Wow.
So when you think that a cell virtually weighs nothing.
Wow.
Yes. So
have they found, like, does her children's cells do that? Like, have they found another person whose cells multiply or can survive outside the body like that?
I think there have been development of different cell lines, but I don't know how many cell lines there are. And if they're as like monstrous as these. One thing that was really cool is her daughter, Deborah, she kind of felt like her mom is still living actually in these cells. And like the author even said that as she was writing this book, she got married. And so Deborah said, my mom wanted somebody to help take, care for you, look after you. And
wait, the author got married or Deborah got married?
The author got married. The author got married while she was working on this book. And Deborah said, oh, my mom wanted somebody to look after you. And then she actually ended up getting divorced also while working on this book. And she said, my mom said you were too distracted from writing the book. Gosh,
Is
what
Deborah
else was
okay
it?
now? Like, was she able to, is she okay?
She's okay. She, from the stress of, because, you know, once people found out who the family was, it was like nonstop, knocking on doors, phone calls, and, you know, people trying to take advantage of them.
And like they did Henrietta, you mean?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And so because of all the stress of it, Deborah, I don't know if it was an actual stroke, but she had stroke-like symptoms and just really had a difficult time dealing with all of this emotionally, because she said, she's like, actually, this was kind of cute when Rebecca called her, and, you know, she was told to kind of tread gingerly with her. And she said, I want to write a book, and I want to write a book about your mom, not about the cells, but about your mom. And Deborah was like, hallelujah. Finally, somebody wants to tell the story about my mom. I think a book is a wonderful idea. And she's like, I want to know what happened to the shirt she was wearing. What did she smell like? What, you know, all of these questions that she had because she never knew her mom.
Because she was one, right?
She was one.
Ugh.
I really recommend reading it.
Wow, that is so fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah. And I thought this would be a fun, not fun, but a informative, but not too techy.
For immunization month, right?
Yeah.
Awareness month.
And it's something that's not really well known. I mean, so many people in science know, or they've heard of HeLa cells, but you don't necessarily know the origination. Or one thing, Mary Kubitschek, so she was the tech, when she was in for the autopsy, collecting the cells, she took a moment and looked at her, and she was trying to avoid her eyes. She didn't want to see her lifeless eyes. And she kind of looked down, and she noticed that her toes were painted red, and the polish was a little bit chipped. And she looked, and she's like, oh my God, this is a person. And she said it hadn't really registered, you know, as she's doing all this data collecting and stuff, that these cells actually came from a person who might have been sitting in her bathroom painting her toenails. So it's kind of, I mean, good intentions overall, I think, from the scientists and the physicians that were involved. But it's hard to remember that you're dealing with people, I think, when you get too ingrained into it. And again, that was a time where there was segregation. Thank you. Like, what is the word? There was segregation in Maryland.
There's separatization in Maryland.
What? Yeah, segregation.
I retract my comment that Ingrid's smart. I'm retracting it right now.
Oh,
that's fascinating. That really is. Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea. That is so cool.
You know, it's funny is I bought this book maybe a month ago because I'm like, I need to at some point do the story of Henrietta Lacks because it's so informative. And again, everyone takes a scientific look at it and nobody really knows this story about her. Which
I love that all those people went to go donate blood because she had such an impact on their lives.
Such an impact. Yeah. I mean, there are so many kind things that were said about her and just a wonderful person. And honestly, thank goodness for Rebecca Skloot, because if she hadn't taken all this time to do all this research and not give up when the family wouldn't call her back, to keep pursuing and to form this relationship with them and write this incredible book.
Right.
That's so necessary, I think.
Yeah.
But okay,
well
so
done.
Next week, Tuskegee. Or
Am I doing it or are you?
Tuskegee. You are, man.
Tuskegee.
Tuskegee.
That's an American word too. I have no excuse.
Yeah,
because it's Tuskegee Airmen from World War II, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what were you? And you were calling it Tuskegee, right?
I think I was saying Tuskegee. I think I've said both. Tuskegee.
We'll find out. I might just say both. Okay, so I'm covering it. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
I have some homework to do. I feel your pain, Kara.
I know, right? At least I'm giving you a little bit more heads up than she got. We can dive into more of the immunization aspect of things if anyone wants us to. If anyone wants to come on and talk about immunizations, if they have a good scientific pro or con, hey, we could get a debate. We could get,
Ooh, I'll sit back and watch TV. Not popcorn. TV, watch the screen.
Eat some popcorn. Have at
it.
We
could get two of our cousins to go at it.
Nope. Here's a caveat. You cannot be related to us.
Yeah, fair enough. If you get a vaccine or don't get a vaccine, appreciate where the scientific research came from.
And
Henrietta Lacks.
And how
from
many
Clover,
changes?
Maryland.
Virginia.
Oh,
that one was easy. Virginia.
My bad.
But also recognize that because of her, so many changes were made, like the informed consent.
Which is huge.
I will say, though, there's not a big difference between then and now as far as the tissues when you're alive. Like if you get your appendix taken out, it's no longer yours. It's out.
I can't remember who I was talking to. Someone within my immediate circle, I think. We were talking about the ancestry, DNA or 23andMe. Yeah, and someone was talking about how they were they didn't want their DNA being out there. Or maybe I heard it on a podcast. It was someone it was a voice that I hear commonly enough that I think that they're in my inner circle.
Huh.
Yeah. Because it might have been Dad, actually. I think Dad had a touch of paranoia because I got him that for Christmas or Father's Day one year.
You think Dad had a touch of paranoia? You think?
Well done. That was really good. That was really informative. Thank you.
Thanks, sis.
That was good.
Thank you guys all for listening.
Yes, as always, thank you. It's fun for me and Ingrid. Hope it's enjoyable for you guys.
Yeah. And hey, if you guys take a look at the August and September observances for these months, there's a few good ones, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys want us to do them or not.
What are some of them?
I'm about to look.
I look really tan right now. I just want to share that. I am sitting really in the dark.
She looks really tan and young, guys.
I have no lights on in my office right now.
It's something you don't know about Jessica is that she's tan and young. Okay, so a couple things. August, National Dog Month.
We'll just have your paradoodles do the podcast.
They can do their own episode.
Oh, they could talk to Reggie and Asha.
There's some Motorsports Awareness Month. Goat cheese, crayon collection, hair loss, panini sandwich, water quality, romance awareness.
Interesting.
Spinal muscular atrophy.
Oh, that might be good.
International Peace Month. That might be good.
Ooh, maybe with Happiness Happens, we could talk about Aaron Rodgers and his ayahuasca trips that he's been taking since 2020.
I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but why don't we talk about that, the ayahuasca experience?
Oh, ayahuasca is so fascinating. Okay.
You can do that too.
No, that was not me volunteering. I just said it's so fascinating.
And
you're doing Tuskegee.
No.
Yeah. We only have 2 weeks left in August. Y'all can
so Tuskegee and
ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Happiness happens. Happiness is a
International
choice, people.
peace. It can be international peace and happiness happens.
Hmm.
Okay, so September observances quickly. Baby safety month. That could be sad.
Agreed.
Classical music. Fall hat month.
Is that a hat that you can fall in, or is that a hat that looks good for fall?
Gynecologic Cancer Awareness Month. There's also National Chicken Month, Childhood Cancer Awareness.
Nope.
But if somebody has a situation they want to share, they can.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Neonatal Intensive Care Awareness Month.
Jeez.
I could find a NICU nurse. Mortgage Professional Mushroom.
Oh, September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
I was going to say Suicide Prevention Awareness is on there. Piano Potato. Oh, we could get Samwise Gamgee on
If only
potato.
he could come.
Boil them,
mash them, put them in a stew.
Preparedness Recovery. Does that mean like
alcohol or substance use, or does that mean physical therapy?
That's what recovery? I mean. I don't know. It just says recovery. Rice month. Can come on and just eat rice. We can do a Facebook Live.
We could talk about the different types of rice and see if you could name what rice it is by eating it.
There's fried rice, jasmine rice, brown rice,
white rice,
fried
rice,
rice noodles, rice cakes,
vermicelli. No. Yes.
Sushi. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry that this reminded me of that. Are you going to go see Joe Coy's new movie?
Oh my God. Did it came out, right? Friday? Or it comes out this Friday?
I think it comes out this Friday. I am so excited. And I love Tiffany Haddish.
Easter Sunday, right?
Yes. Yes.
Joe Coy.
Joe Coy. Oh, and also, so sidebar, but Bill Burr is coming to Dallas.
Oh, fun.
So excited. Yeah, we're going. I'm so excited.
Okay. Self-care awareness month. Sickle cell, spinal cord injury, pulmonary fibrosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, prostate health.
I mean, maybe for self-care, we could bring back our Do It With Me.
As you poured giant glass of wine.
Could you hear that?
Yes.
It was off microphone. Oh my goodness. Sorry.
People, all the things, in case you haven't listened or you've forgotten, we do post pictures on our Instagram account and our Facebook account, and maybe sometimes Twitter if I do it right, that coincide with all of our episodes. So this week I'll be posting some pictures of Henrietta Lacks and some of her family members. But find us. We are on at Another Situation podcast or something like that on Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter is Another Sit Pod or something. I don't know.
And our email is anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Not Another Situation, which I thought it was. It's
and
our
website.
Hot? Did you say hot?
I was going to say podcast, but that's this.
Podcast.
Our podcast is what you're listening to right now, folks. I hope you like it.
Oh, yeah.
Our website is anothersituationpodcast.com. We try to make it very easy. Another Situation podcast.
I will eventually
everywhere.
get a picture on there eventually.
And thank you so much for listening. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Jessica.
Probably
and this is...
No. We probably should have said that at the beginning.
We definitely should have. I'm the younger sister. That's the older sister. And that's about all you need to know. Thank you, guys.
Let's see. Be ethical.
Give consent.
We're supposed to say be.
Be informed.
Ah, beautiful. Ooh,
thank you.
You know what? That's how we need to end this. We need to go back and forth twice.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
So.
What'd you just say? What was your first one? Be ethical.
Be ethical.
And be informed. It's your turn then.
Be persistent.
Be nice like Henrietta.
Aw.
Okay. See you later.
Be a good listener and share this with your friends. Be beautiful.
Beautiful. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.